Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Janice Smith.
Where do I go?
Right there, please.
Oh, I think I need to stand on top of it. Okay. Good evening. Before I begin, I wanted to tell the City Council just that I sincerely thank you for your public service and for all the time. I know you put in so much time for our city and so much behind the scenes and all morning I hear. So thank you very much. May tonight's meeting begin with an upward focus with words from Ephesians. I'm not praying yet, everybody. Okay, may tonight's meeting begin with all glory to God, who is able, through his mighty power at work within us, to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. Long ago, St. Augustine said the best servant, in this case, public servants, the best servant is the person who does not attend so much to hearing what he himself wants as to willing what he has heard from you or from the electorate. May our City Council continue to focus above, to listen well, and to act for the public good. Now I'll close with a brief prayer. Lord God, we continue to pray for rain on our land and peace among all our citizens. Thank you very much. Amen.
Mayor and Council, I think I have the longest item tonight with employee recognitions. I have four different recognitions tonight that involve 9 different people. I want to start with our City Secretary's office. If I could get everyone, Leslie Embry, Rebecca Goff, and Shelley Goodwin to come up. We've done a lot of work over the years to transform our City Secretary's office. It is an award-winning office now. In fact, we recently were awarded on behalf of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association. We have a letter here from Tina Stewart, Chair of the Achievement and Excellence Award Committee with the Texas Municipal Clerks Association. The letter reads, "Congratulations on behalf of the Texas Municipal Clerks Association and the Achievement of Excellence Award Committee. The Office of the Municipal Clerk in the City of Fredericksburg has met the requirements to receive the Achievement of Excellence Award. The Achievement of Excellence Award Program recognizes the statutory requirements and demands for the effective and efficient management of resources for proper governance by the Municipal Clerk's Office. The award also recognizes municipal clerk offices throughout the state for compliance with federal, state, and local statutes that govern standards necessary to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of the office. A municipal clerk office must have met 9 of 12 standards to be eligible for the Excellence Award. Your office clearly succeeded in demonstrating the standards that qualified you to receive this award, and we are proud of your office's accomplishments. This award highlights contributions that you and your city represent in local government. The recipients of this distinguished award will be officially acknowledged in October at the awards banquet held by our annual Advanced Institute." So with that, I would like to congratulate Shelley Goodwin. We have Leslie Embry and Rebecca Goff. Congratulations.
I have a photo. Is this okay?
Thanks, ladies. Okay, next, could I call Officer Wayman to the front? This is a really good one. Come on up. I also need to come up as part of this recognition, Officer Bossy, Officer Munoz. Can I get all three of you to come up, please? This letter was actually submitted by Officer Bossy to Derek Seelig. He says, Lieutenant, Officer Wayman was dispatched to a welfare concern at Orchard Grove Apartments. The complainant stated that a young female was walking around the 200 building. The complainant stated that the female was trying to hand the complainant her keys and that she could hardly walk. The complainant did not stay on scene. Officer Munoz and I responded as backup. We arrived and noticed Officer Wayman sprinting to the hallway of Building 2. He immediately summoned EMS because he noticed that a female in the hallway and appeared to be unconscious. Upon contact, Officer Wayman noticed the female was not breathing and he was not getting a strong pulse. He immediately began to give the female CPR. I ran back to my unit and retrieved my AED. It was not used because we were able to detect a pulse. I did not think of it, but Officer Wayman mentioned Narcan. I ran back to my car, grabbed the Narcan, and administered it to the female. The female came back to consciousness about 4 minutes later. I believe Officer Wayman's actions could have ultimately saved the female's life. If Officer Wayman had not located her, she probably would not have been found until the next morning. Officer Wayman remained calm and rendered aid until EMS took over the scene. I just wanted to acknowledge Officer Wayman's quick thinking and reaction. So it was this group right here working together in this response through PD that probably most likely saved a life. So congratulations. Thank you, guys. Okay, can I get Adrian Flores and Michael Rhodes from our street department? We have Adrian and Michael. No? Okay, how about Miguel Contreras? That's on Miguel in the back. I may have the wrong date on one of these. Okay, this is actually an email from Patrol Sergeant Trey Schnelly with the police department to Chief Vorauer. He says in his email, Chief, I just wanted to pass along something that lifted my spirits this morning in hopes the employee may be recognized at some point. Sometimes a thankless job, the sanitation department always does an excellent job hauling off trash on Main Street left behind by our many visitors downtown. However, this morning as I was driving in on Tivydale, I observed a vehicle ahead of me with its flashers on. As I got closer, I observed a man in a neon yellow shirt cross the highway and return to his truck as the vehicle with the flashers continued on its way. I stopped briefly to inquire what was going on and soon discovered that our very own Miguel Contreras had gone above and beyond his assigned job description to provide help to a stranded motorist that had ran out of gas. Miguel had returned to his own home to retrieve a gas can and got the motorist back on the road. Miguel is clearly a valued employee that embodies the city's mission of leading with integrity while providing the best customer service to our community. I say we try to recruit him into the police department. You can't have him. Please forward my observations to Miguel's supervision. I want to let you know that in my first week on the job back in 2013, I think it may have been the first day, I rode around in a refuse collection vehicle with Miguel, and I can tell you we had a very good conversation. He's very good at what he does, and he does go above and beyond every single day. So thank you, Miguel.
Councilmember Joseph is on vacation today, fishing somewhere. All right, I have several not on the agenda because we have such a short agenda, I'm sure. Okay, here is speaking on an item listed on the agenda. Jerry, did you have a general sort of message for us relative to the day? Yeah. Come on. Inspirational message. We could use that.
For the last 20 years, my wife and I, every morning after breakfast, read a little devotional from her book, and I read one from my book. And at night before we go to bed, we read the evening version of that. And when she read hers this morning, I said to her, honey, that needs to be shared with the city council. So here it is for the 1st of August. On the beaches of Normandy, June 6, 1944, over 150,000 soldiers landed on beaches that were most heavily fortified positions of World War II. They marched up those beaches into the teeth of the German defense. Their goal was the liberation of France. It is estimated that there were over 4,000 casualties on those beaches in that day alone. These soldiers, both the living and the dead, will forever be remembered for setting foot on those beaches. And around 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ left heaven and set foot on this earth. He lived a sinless life and then died on the cross, taking the sins of the world upon himself. His footprints on this earth will always be cherished for giving his life for the freedom of all mankind. That is the good news that this verse refers to, and it is the good news that Paul is calling us to bring to a world that needs to hear this message of freedom today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, Jesus. Annette Bennett?
Thank you, Annette Bennett, Fredericksburg. I would like to thank City Council for making a positive change in the regular meeting agenda order. It is encouraging to know that our comments have been acknowledged. I hope that the addition of City Council comments will be a permanent addition to the agenda. In closing, I would like to express my desire that City Council not accept ARPA money, regardless of the source, whether directly from the Treasury or from any other government entity. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Annette. Jeanette Hormuth?
Good evening. I'm Jeanette. I live in the city. And I was at the workshop this morning, and that was really interesting. I'm not usually at the workshops, but it was refreshing to hear towards the end when Judge Strayer, y'all were talking about the affordable housing coordinator and whether to put him on for another year. And Judge Strayer was saying, no, he wasn't necessarily for that, y'all had said it'd be for 1 year, and he doesn't feel that it's contributing anything. But the thing that stood out to me is he said, these are the taxpayers' money, and we need to be really careful how we use it and use it not on things we don't need. And I had a sigh of relief when I heard him say that, because and I would like to encourage the council as you move forward on the budget, you're still working on the budget, but maybe see what things you can cut rather than necessarily the things that you're, obviously there's things you need and things that you want to put on there, but what are things that are not necessary? And I would venture to say that the housing coordinator would be one. Another one would be whatever you're doing with the sports center, because you're saying, okay, well, the city's only going to take this much, the county's going to take this much, and private industry is going to take this much, but basically the taxpayer is going to pay 2/3. So those sorts of things are things the community should do on their own. It's not if you took on every little thing like that, after they do the soccer, they're going to do the pickleball, and then they're going to do the next thing. But that's our money. That's our money. Let's use it for the important things. The other things, let people find ways to fund it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Just for the record, we have received one written comment, very lengthy written comment from Wesley Hesker, and it's regarding the American Rescue Plan funds, and it's everybody get it? Yes. Okay, so it's quite extensive. As written comment will go on the record. All right, thank you. Item number 6 is a consent agenda regarding minutes. Consider the approval of the minutes for July 18th, the regular meeting, and the following work session on July 22nd. I did notice a couple of things, and I'm almost ashamed to admit it, Emily, because you have such a great eye about things, and I don't. I can't believe I saw this, but Shelley in the workshop, I think it was, Officer Seelig, his name is misspelled a couple of times. It's correct in the, it's correct in the listing of all the city staff present, but when it mentions his presentation on page 3, a couple of times there, it has an extra N. And when people read these 100 years from now, they want to know who Derek Seelig is. Should be no question, right? Want to know if that's their ancient ancestor. Anything else? Council? Nothing else? Okay, take a motion.
I move we approve the minutes from the 2 meetings that we had in July.
A second.
Motion second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. All right, we're now at public comments not on the agenda. We have several people signed up. Deborah Habecker.
My name is Deborah Habecker, and I live in the city. Thank you to the mayor, council, county judge, and commissioners on this morning's budget meeting. Thank you again, Ms. Kirschner, for your excellent questions. Fredericksburg history can pride itself for being unique. Early in its colorful history, the German settlers made peace with the Comanches. They prided themselves with being the only county which kept peace because it never broke its treaty with the Indians. They kept their word, and unlike the federal government at that time, Unfortunately, in our time, our federal government still cannot be trusted. Yes, I agree, these American Rescue Funds are tempting to keep, but we cannot violate citizens' rights. So let's recap. Thank you to Stu Peters. 2019 vaccine EOs, 5G towers, scamdemic, 2020 fraudulent election, PCR test ordered, 150 million. CARES Act, systematic government-funded murder. Defense Production Act, ventilators, killing machines. Remdesivir, death cocktails. Vaccines, experimental. All funded by the government via the taxpayer and signed off by a bipartisan Congress and president. If you aren't awake by now, you'll never be. We cannot trust this government. Please give those ARPA funds back that violate our rights. Let's show the government we are independent thinkers and cannot be bought off, that our freedoms are too important to us. Let's be part of the 6%, not the 94%. Thank you.
Sylvia Hicks.
Sylvia Hicks, living in the city of Fredericksburg. This is the first time I have been in a city small enough that I could actually go to a city council meeting and meet the city council face to face, and it's pretty exciting. And I don't know how often one needs to stand before you and ask you to send the ARPA money back, but I'm here to ask you to send the ARPA money back, please.
Thank you. Bill Snyder. Okay. Joe Brillhart.
Sorry, I'm Joseph Brillhart. Joseph, sorry. I do have some flyers to hand out, just the general information. I should approach.
Yes.
A little bit messed up.
You can give it to Officer Seelig.
Sorry. You should definitely get stapled and also a copy of a survey for a subdivision development. That's right. One more? Yes.
Well, your time's expiring pretty quickly.
Oh my gosh, here we go, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Are you a citizen? Are you a resident of the city?
I am. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I do live off of 416 South Milam, correct? Okay. I'm representing Sally Clark and the Brillhart family for property that actually is located off of 1631, 782 Ranch Road, 1631.
Okay.
I am here again. I've spoken to the city quite a few times about promoting the Morse Street extension. I'd like to say, first of all, that we have a lot of dedication from families that have actually tried to create the master plan of having this road extended. We are waiving in the actual handout I gave you, it actually gives you information about those people that were actually dedicated to this cause. This is a master plan that's been involved in since 1945, and there's actually been a creek property dedicated by the Eckhart family in 1946. I'm here to promote a alternate EMS route that this road would provide for the city, and it's land use ready. We have water and sewer already on this property that's available. This land is paid for by the city, and it actually would be cheaper if it would just go through the Mulberry Road and not, I'm sorry, Morse Road without having the Mulberry extension, which would be under $7.9 million. If that would be the case.
I'm going to go ahead and give you another minute, Justice, since we
Thank you.
took so much time.
Thank you. This provides an alternate route off of Main Street for local people, and we've actually had a positive response from the community. Our land proposal involves there's a copy of the subdivision there in your handout. It shows the layouts of a possible size of lots. TxDOT has approved the new entry for this road in 1631, and that goes all the way back to provide the master plan. The bridge location is on that actual handout to show you where the bridge is located. That bridge property has been actually dedicated by the Eckhart family. I already said that in 1946. We have not added any possible park locations yet, but we'd like to. And we're looking to do RA1 lots that are possible. But once again, we have not made the decision where those the R1A lots, affordable lots, would actually be located. Just basically, we are aware that our responsibilities of putting in the road for this and the sewer lines and the electrical for the rest of the subdivision. Our phase one would start at Moore Street. And the last thing is we are looking to partner with the city to help accommodate our current growth and the city's future growth. So, sorry.
Wow. That's all right. Thank you. So you're Sally's son-in-law, I guess, right? Okay. Now I got you figured. Okay. Now I got you placed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I spoke to Sally this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And we'll look at your handouts. Tom Marshall?
My name's Tom Marshall, and I'm a resident. I'd like to talk about contracts. All of us probably have dealt with contracts in one form or another over our lives. But the past couple of weeks, I've been looking into exactly what is a contract. And what I'm finding that depending on which lawyer you talk to, there's 5, 6, 7, or 8 different components to have a valid contract. Most of them, however, do say that the first thing to get a contract going is an offer. This offer has to be finite. The offer made in the contract with U.S. Treasury Department was not finite. They list the possibility of executive orders in the future affecting the contract. Of course, agreeing to an invalid contract makes it binding until someone objects. Who might possibly object when $2.5 million are at stake and some contractor does not get the bid? They might be a good candidate to object. The open-ended characteristic of the contract is reason enough to invalidate the contract legally. But there may be a second reason. One of the last components listed for contracts is that of competency. Whoever is involved with the contract must be competent to sign the contract. Here in this room, the person that signed that contract stated that he signed a contract with the state of Texas, not the U.S. Treasury Department. A reasonable person might think that that person was not competent to sign that contract. If the shady contract is not red flag enough, consider the principle of signing a contract with the Treasury Department where the president is involved by proxy. Fredericksburg and U.S. Treasury Department are not the only entities involved here. Imagine someone signing a contract with the city where the governor is authorized to put additional requirements on that contract after it is signed. I would challenge anyone wanting to keep the ARPA funds to justify this contract as constitutional. Thank you.
Mrs. Marshall. Is it Mary Lou or Mary Lee? Thank you. I want to make sure I got it right.
I'm Mary Lee Marshall. I live in Fredericksburg. First of all, this city needs no help raising funds for infrastructure. Tax revenues are up and we have plenty of money in reserve. Infrastructure is the worst thing to spend the ARPA money on. Also, the feds will have the option to issue an edict whenever they want and say that because you took the money, we get to tell you who gets the benefits of the infrastructure. Like who gets to use the Wi-Fi and who gets to use the utilities. If they decide everybody has to have the shot, then everybody has to have the shot or you don't have utilities or whatever you spent the ARPA money on. 2 years ago, that would have sounded really ridiculous. But after a fake 2-year pandemic and a future one in the news, it sounds quite plausible. Are you so foolish as to think that the feds won't do this again? I am not. We had the option to tell them to take a hike before this invalid contract that Kent Myers signed, but he signed it. And that changed everything. If we don't follow orders, the feds could easily sue us and you for breach of contract. Secondly, this contract is not legally a contract because the offer is not finite. It is open-ended. An open-ended contract has no force officially. Myers agreed to do whatever it takes to get that free money. He prostrated this town to the pimps in D.C. And you know what that makes us. Unless somebody has the guts to stand up and do their job to protect the people of this town from government overreach. Anybody? If we acquiesce and follow orders, they will say, okay, Fredericksburg is falling for this, so here we go. And it becomes written in stone. So if you think these funds are given to the city for our benefit, the last thing I remember the feds did that was beneficial was the interstate system. Since then, federal help has been just a handicap. You mentioned the economic mess we have is the result of bad decisions of the federal government. Well, you hit the nail on the head. So why do you trust the future of this town to the decisions of that government? Thank you.
Sandra McDonald. You're on the list. You wrote it all down for it?
And this is something that, I'll come up here and say, basically, I agree with every single thing that these people have said. I also will say it is unnerving, it saddens me, and it upsets me that this is being pushed on us. And I, like everybody who spoke here, and the petition that I'm getting ready to do another one, and I have new names, new people feel the same way that I do. It's just we feel unheard, secondary, and no part of the government of Fredericksburg, and that is disillusioning. Thank you. I don't know why I was on here, but I was.
Because you're signed up here. Okay. Jeanette?
Gosh, I don't think I can top any of that. I do not have a prepared speech, but I have a few thoughts. This is similar to a lot of the state constitutions, but in Utah, it says, Article 1, Section 27, frequent occurrence to fundamental principles is essential to the security of individual rights and the perpetuity of a free government. Another one, I think South Carolina says a frequent occurrence to fundamental principles is absolutely necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty. Well, what are those fundamental principles? I talked about it a little bit this morning, and that is, what is the purpose of government? Like, what is your essential priority? Is it building things in Fredericksburg? Not, those are nice, it's good, it's important. We have to have, fire, police, all that. But your number one job is in your oath of office. And coming from the Declaration of Independence, it says, this is what government is, that to secure these rights, so after they talked about the Bill of Rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In the Texas Constitution, it says all political power is inherent in the people, and that the governments are formed through the consent and will of the people, and that they're at all times amenable to the people. So the number one thing is the rights. So we look at this contract with the federal government, who has no jurisdiction over the private people. However, if you sign that contract, you're now giving them the power and control to do so, and to tell us what to do, things that they have no business telling us what to do. Doesn't matter what it is, even if they say stand on your head. Okay? But because it's by consent of contract, you are entering into a binding agreement. But we didn't agree to it. And essentially, you're selling off our rights, and you're putting us under something that does not belong to be in charge of us. This is our community, you're our representatives, and we're calling you to rise up to the duties of your office. And this is the number one. Thank you.
All right. Item number 8 is city manager's report.
Okay, Mayor, Council, we have a couple of items on the city manager's report tonight. We will start with a water supply update. We've been talking about this a lot lately. There have been a lot of questions as we've talked in the past. This is a little bit of a moving target. There have been some questions about what stage we're in. We're still in stage 3. And it looks like some of our efforts to push information out and get people behind this community water conservation effort is starting to pay off a little bit. So we're in the process currently of trying to help people understand what the regulations are. Code enforcement is helping with that. Either if they see someone that is watering possibly at the wrong time, or if they discover looking through some of the smart meter data that someone is watering on the weekend or the wrong day or whatever the case may be, we're putting door hangers out. Just a friendly reminder before we give anyone a fine that you might want to adjust your system. We understand people don't have a lot of control over that. We have a bill stuffer going out in the same regard. We're not going to talk about stages. We're going to talk about water conservation, what you can do, remind people of some of the times and so forth. There have been a number of articles in the newspaper reporting on city discussions. There have been some other articles written. Thank you, Sam, for the article that you wrote. Most recently, there was an article regarding or an advertisement for a Pray for Rain service. There was a letter to the editor that caught my eye called The Green Truth. If you see a yard that's really lush and green, it's really easy to see who is not adhering to the stage 3 restrictions. I give my address out all the time. Go look at my yard and compare it to my water bill. It's not real green. It's not real green. So all of these things are really coming together to make a little bit of a difference already. Chris and I talked a little bit this afternoon, and we're looking at the daily numbers, and it looks like over the past couple of weeks, we're down about 12%. We're trying to hit that 20% number. That's the objective of stage 4 versus stage 3 is an overall savings of about 20%. And we're somewhere in that 10 to 12% range probably. Chris just shared some information with me before the meeting from the National Weather Service. It looks like it's being forecast for above average precipitation in August, which is pretty unusual. So we're hopeful there. Wanted to talk just a little bit about Boot Ranch. I know there have been a lot of questions, and Mayor, you might want to add to this report. I guess it was about a year ago, we changed out all of the meters in town, whether it's residential or commercial, including Boot Ranch, with meters that enable the city to see if there are leaks in anyone's service. We can look at the water consumption. The end user can log into their account and set a water budget. Reminders if they're watering too much or too little. We have used that information, especially out at Boot Ranch, to help the Boot Ranch owners educate their residents on their water usage. And we've done that with great success. Generally, you have second homes out there. I don't think anyone out there has an idea of how to set their system. And when we remind them, we generally see compliance. Now, we still have some weekend waterers and things like that. But the overall Boot Ranch consumption is about 5 to 7% of the city's overall residential consumption. So in a month, they consume about 4.5 million gallons of water per month. That's about what we push out into the system every day this time of the year. So when you look also, we pulled a report recently that the top 100 water users that have city accounts, most of those are within the city limits. There's a handful that are not. So, when we look at our outside customers, again, I think that they're generally playing by the rules, and like everybody in town also, we're just trying to help everyone understand what those rules are, and trying to get people to understand that this is a finite resource that we're dealing with here. When that resource runs out, and that's a distinct possibility in some instances, you run into a situation that is very dire, especially on the safety side when you can't put out fires and things like that. So again, just the efforts that have been going on the past month since we've stayed in stage 3, it looks like we're seeing quite a bit of voluntary compliance. We do have some fines that are going out, some of the repeat offenders that just refuse to cut back or follow the rules. We really don't have a lot of options. So we do have some of that, but that's the last resort. And as I mentioned right up front, it looks like things are starting to turn around just a little bit. With that, I might turn to Chris and see if he has anything to add specifically about well levels or other information. And then Mayor, if you want to say any words about Boot Ranch.
So we're watching the aquifer levels daily, something that I do first thing in the morning when I get there, working with water department staff on equipment, any mechanical failures, are there any issues within our system? Continuously watching our tank levels. I think as we've mentioned in the past, during the week, we struggle somewhat with keeping those tank levels all the way full. And on the weekends is when we play catch up. So come Monday morning, our tank levels are in really good shape. And by the end of the week, we're trying to play catch up and getting those full again. With that being said, our system looks well, knock on wood. Mechanical failures are minimal at this point. No major, water leaks or anything like that. Our aquifer levels, particularly out in the Canal well field, are actually a little bit higher than they were last week at this time. So that's a good thing. And some of it is related to other property owners pumping for irrigation reasons. We do have a pecan orchard right next to us as well. So there are other influences on that aquifer, not just the city of Fredericksburg. As far as the pumpage, Clinton mentioned a little bit, we are seeing some of those numbers come down slightly. Can't tell you exactly if people are just giving up on their yards or what's going on. Maybe they're setting their sprinkler systems. Maybe it is the outreach, but it definitely is. We're seeing some of those numbers. Instead of pumping 4.2 to 4.3 million gallons a day, we're seeing those right around that 4, just under 4. So that is a good sign. And hopefully we can kind of continue that for August 1st, looking forward to September 1st. Hopefully we can get into that cooler and get some more average rainfall this fall. Nothing else to add.
I had a question, make sure that, and I did ask this question, but I'm not sure it's out in the public about the code enforcers. So you have 2. I know you're trying to get 1 more, but they do work different shifts and weekends, right?
You want to speak to that, Garrett? Yes, sir. Typically, every other weekend, we have a code enforcement officer that's out and about. That includes the quiet hours, so even after 10 p.m.
And
So
of course,
they're
police can also. Are there, you had mentioned some, are there many violations? I mean, is there any kind of number out there?
I don't know if you want to speak to the number of the reports. So we get a daily report in the mornings from the previous day from our census analytics. It's basically a program that was written to try to identify those that are watering on the incorrect day. We go through and look through those accounts. Some of those are just leaks. And so we notify that customer that they might have a possible leak. And how we can tell is the continuous consumption over a 24-hour period versus over say a 4 or 5 hour period of what would be watering. Those customers that have those leaks, we're notifying them via telephone call or a door hanger. Those that are suspected on watering the wrong day, there's a door hanger being applied. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say it's 20 to 25 a day. Door hangers that being applied. Some days a little bit more, some days a few less. And it does depend on code enforcement schedule, but we also have water department staff available to hang those as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I think I will mention one thing. Council Lady Kirchner and I had lunch out at Boot Ranch last week. Yeah, and met with the management. And this is a customer that became a water and sewer customer of ours in 2004 or 5, I forget which. And so the city has been working with them through the years to be a good neighbor with regard to our resources. And we met with the management over lunch, and we communicated our desire that they continue to be good neighbors, and that they require their people to be aware of the conservation measures. And my preference is always to try to entice people to be good neighbors and participate well. However, I asked him if he thought that if the city became more aggressive in fining and even considerable fines, would that be something that might get the people's attention that might not be so inclined? And he said, absolutely. And he would support that. So we're in conversation with them, to work with them, to partner with them, letting them know all the data that we know and making requests first. That's my strategy first, is to get them on board. And I have to tell you that I felt that the communication we got from them was, you tell us how we can be better at this and we will be sure to do it. So that's where we are now. Oh, well, thank you. Budget update?
Yes, sir. And I just wanted to give the council and the public a quick update on the budget calendar mainly. A few key dates to keep in mind, and one we have listed here will change just a little bit. We have a city council workshop on all funds. To date, we have talked about enterprise funds, special funds in one workshop setting, and then general fund in another. This will be all of the funds combined. A lot of the capital, a lot of the new employee requests plugged into that. We're looking at, again, moving that from August 10th to August 17th. I didn't know if the council had a morning or evening meeting preference.
That's item B2, right?
Yes.
That's changed to the 17th.
Right.
Great.
How about all day?
All day?
Yeah.
Start at 9? 9 in the morning. That gives us probably plenty of time. 9 a.m.
Starting at 9?
We're holding this workshop out at the
I was
golf
so excited
course.
about the movement of the date. We're going to make that day 9 a.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Cardinal room, plenty of room.
Instead of 4 p.m. Great.
We also have a council workshop for public hearing on proposed budget and no new tax rate on August 22nd. Coming up again, back out at the golf course, Lady Bird, Johnson Golf Course, Cardinal Room. And then finally, City Council regular meeting, adoption of the new tax rate and FY 2023 budget on September 19th.
The one on the 22nd remains at 4 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So those are the key dates. I'd be happy to answer any questions or that you might have at this point. Thank you.
Any questions of manager? Okay. Nope. Item number 9, council comments. I would like to say that the consideration that maybe you're not being heard, you are. The council is continuing to look into the issues that you raise. We are, I personally am talking to our government officials, which I know it may not be what you'd prefer, but we're talking to our government officials in the state and the national level about this contract and about the issue of the ARPA funds. Also, we're looking in, I can't speak for everybody else, I am looking into legal interpretation and assessment of the contract, of other issues regarding this particular issue. So it is not true that you're not being heard. When you speak in public comment, we are precluded from responding. So it's not that we're not hearing, it's just that if that particular item is not on the agenda, which it hasn't been specifically, then we cannot engage in a conversation or discussion or deliberation. But you are speaking for myself, you are being heard. And I have communicated with several of you via email and phone and personally, I know that I'm pretty sure that other council members have had their conversations as well. Just wanted to assure you that you are being heard. I have asked the council to consider that we establish our position clearly at some point through the budget process. Our decision and rationale, et cetera, whether it is to do as you request or as it is to not do what you request. But we will be discussing that as part of the budget process over the next month and a half. So there will be a clear finality to this council's decision about that issue. Any other council member comment?
No.
All right, item number 10, items for future agenda. That was a handout, right? Okay.
Does everybody have the handout?
Ooh.
It's August 15th. We have minutes from 3 separate meetings. Best Fest Street closure request, consent item. Executive session item for the proposed Art Guild lease. We have the second phase of the broadband project, which is the construction phase of the project. And then finally, award of contract to HAF Associates for the comprehensive plan.
Clinton, tell me in general how you'd like for us to receive this information. I appreciate the list. Are you wanting us at this point to say, no, I don't want to talk about that at that point, or add other things? What would be most helpful?
Right, it's just a reminder to the council of the items that we have coming up on the agenda. And if you look down the list, you may see other items that you might want to consider a little bit earlier or have a question about. It's a way for you to take a look at all future agenda items really through the year.
Okay.
This is something that Shelley started putting together. So we have even items that are not plugged into a specific agenda listed at the very end. If you want to add an item to the list, any council member wants to add an item to the list to be considered, we can put that on the future agenda items list and pull that up into an agenda at any point. So it's just a running list of all the agenda items more for your information than anything else. Just
okay. So if there was something the council came up with they wanted to talk about sometime in the next little while, maybe after budget, then this would be the time to bring it up and you'd put it on a list for future. And then
that's correct.
Okay.
If you wanted to have a workshop on municipal utility districts or affordable housing, something like that, we could stick that on, establish a date, build the agenda based on whatever items you want to add.
Good. Thank you.
So anything else on the 15th agenda? Anything to add, anything to remove?
Oh, boy, today I don't want to add anything. Do you, Bobby? No. Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go into an executive session to discuss the items that you see listed on the agenda there. Consider the appointment, evaluation, and reassignment and or duties of public officer employees, specifically municipal court judge. Consider and discuss legal advice concerning pending legislation in the judicial district court, and to consider and discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property located in the vicinity of the intersection of East Main and Heritage Hills Drive.
I'll make a motion to go from regular session to executive session.
I'll second that.
Motion second, go from regular to executive. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. All right, we'll take a motion to get back into regular session.
I move that we go out of executive session back into regular.
Second.
Motion and second to go from executive session back into regular session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We had one item of business that we wanted to transact. Entertain a motion on item 11A.
I move that we approve two-year contract or two-year appointment for the municipal court judge, and we'll review her current salary during the budget process and be decided in January.
Second.
Motion and second to appoint municipal judge Becker for a 2-year term, full time, and discuss the compensation during the budget process. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It is 7:31.